Okay, YouTube, hello once again. This is game 3 in this best of 5. Now, I know this is a best of 5, but these are individually best of 1 games. To get recapped on what's happened so far, obviously you can look at the score, but I'll also link the previous video up here. So sit back, relax, enjoy as we continue to face off against the Warpigs. All right, so hopping into game number 3, things are not looking so good for my team, but they're looking pretty good for the Warpigs. I'm playing for the Warpigs and Pig. In the top right, we have the pink Zerg Armani, and to the bottom left, representing my team but also Team Liquid and all good Terrans, he is the pink Clem. Now to explain the team colors really quick, because I know pink versus pink is not so great to look at, but they are our team colors in the Team League. We've all been assigned a certain color that we pick for these matches, and I think they only change in mirror matchups if memory serves. So this is a tough spot for us. To be clear of where we're at, Clem, if he loses this, we still play the 4th game of the best of 5 for map scores, but then we've just, like, there's no way. It's 3-0 and it's all one and done and we can't beat the team, and it's gonna really suck. So at the time that this was live, this was a really sweaty match, and frankly I was very stressed and on the edge of my seat. But I have faith in Clem. If any of you guys have heard me talk about him recently, especially, like, he's one of my go-to golden boys. I think Clem is probably one of the best players on my team, and I'm saying that fully well aware that I have Rogue and Dear and Lambo on my team. And if there's one guy who can bring us back for the brink of defeat, I would hope it's him. So as we start off in this matchup, a couple of things to note. The scout, first off, fantastic. He goes up just enough to see the creep. This tells him a hatchery was made and not a roach warren. He'll go with the Reaper following this up to confirm that and make sure that he doesn't have to worry about anything back at home, and he'll be able to build his command center without too much issue. So as the Reaper hops up here, he'll also see the 2 Zerglings, 4 Zerglings, even better. Now he knows there's nothing going across the field to give him a headache, and that Armani is going to be just deflecting the Reaper for the next 30 seconds or so. For Clem, I don't expect him to do anything wild. You know, some of the conversation we did have with the players in this is not really telling them what to do, but saying, hey, you know, what do you think about this build on this map? And I've watched the players kind of confer with each other and talk, but Clem actually hasn't done much of that. Clem's just kind of shown up so far and played. And I do believe TVZ is one of his stronger matchups. We've actually talked a lot about how TVT is one of his weaker ones. TVZ is definitely one of his stronger ones. And we did feel, again, a little stressed at the time of this because it was 2-0. And I'm not saying it is or isn't avoiding spoilers here, but I'm just saying we did have a little bit of faith in Clem to maybe not let this end 3-0. But of course, we'll find out as the game goes on here. Roach Warren starts up as well. This is something that I don't think needs to be super scouted right now, but it would be good for Clem to know the direction this is going, as I do believe Mutalisks are pretty common in TVZ and something you definitely want to look out for. But with the Reaper going down, no information. The Hellions come for the follow-up. I don't know if they're gonna have a lot of room to get in there. They definitely would have loved to have had the Reaper for some grenade bouncing, but he does manage to slip right past the Queens and he rolls right into the base. Now maybe he'll get some drone kills or not, but the big thing I just want to point out is he rolled right past the Roach Warren without scouting it. And it's very, very unlikely these Hellions are going to get out of this alive. They're here to do damage, maximum damage, 7 drones for 2 Hellions. That is beyond cost effective for Clem. Sadly though, as I just mentioned, he did not see that Roach Warren, so he doesn't really know what's coming. The follow-up to this, of course, is still going to be BIOS, so whether it's roaches or not. Hold the phone, swaps off the tech lab, forget stim pack, baby. It's time for some aerial technology. Go straight to the Banshee. Now this is wild because, of course, this is what's needed. If he had kept building stim, it wouldn't have been done in time. He wouldn't have had enough units to benefit from it, and the roaches would have busted him right open. Clem, reacting perfectly and reading the situation exactly as he needed to, gets these Banshees out. And if it's even just one Banshee defending, it's going to clean up all the roaches and ravagers. So he keeps the Hellions over here. Roaches, of course, don't take much damage from Hellions, so it makes sense that he doesn't want to have them get in the fight, but he goes across for the counterattack instead. This is a really clever move because the Hellions could maybe lick some of the Ravagers, do a bit of damage. He knows they wouldn't be really good for fighting. However, despite this clever move of the counterattack, Armani does catch those Hellions. Roaches start busting in, and things are not looking so good for Team Rifkin. but the repair on the bunker is pretty solid. The Banshee's pushing this back. 2 Marines for damage. A Marauder on the side. He hops into the bunker, and these SCVs dance around the corrosive vials pretty perfectly. I will say, I think Armani got a little greedy with the way he used his corrosive vials here, but for Clem, he's only lost 2 SCVs, a canceled command center. This is beyond acceptable damage so far. Now, as the Lings get in here, we do start seeing some of the SCVs go down. The bunker here, very close to breaking. He gave up that surface area, but there's Hellions behind SCVs and Marines. The Banshee's here too. Clem's gonna lose a few more workers, but this is ultimately a big hold. And Armani he cut a lot of drones before this fight began to get that size of an army. It was really risky to do. It didn't pay off. Now Armani has essentially shot himself in the foot. Yeah, he killed 7 workers, but Clem still leads. He's got mules, and of course he starts his 3rd CSEP without too much delay at all. He's still going to invest in stim, which is finishing any moment. Bioproduction is going to pick up really nicely now that he's getting these reactors for his add-ons, and this should start looking pretty good for setting up a follow-up push. But to be clear, Clem doesn't really have anything to follow up push with right now. No counterattacks so they can immediately go in with, because of course that Hellion attack failed so miserably. I don't think it'd be worth risking sending these 4 in YOLO style, and I think that's his assessment too. So cleans up a bit of a creep. He's looking for an opening. The queens are coming over here because they don't want to give them an opening. Sees the queens, backs away. But back at home for Clem, siege tank production has begun. I mentioned those add-ons finishing too, so the barracks are really starting to pump. And Clem, I mean, you think about what he held with that fight, right? It was like 2 Marines in a bunker, a Banshee. It wasn't much. He didn't have much, but now he does. And what I'm looking at for Armani is he's spending a lot of time droning right now, right? He's trying to make up that economic difference. He's trying to get caught up after being behind the way he was, but it's at the cost of an army. You don't just make drones without repercussions. It's at the cost of army supply. So Banling speed's on the way, but there's not 40 Zerglings ready to become Banlings. Hellions continue to look around the top side. In fact, cleaning up a lot of these creep tumors. This is particularly great because, of course, the queens didn't want to be using this energy on anything else. Have to re-put the same creep tumors down. Banshees start kiting around a little bit. With good precision or even just mediocre handling of the Banshees, there's going to be counterattack damage to these units. You can see him dancing around everything. Loses 1 Banshee to the Spore Crawler. Unfortunate, but has killed 10 workers. This Banshee alone has 19 kills, partially from the defense earlier, partially from the drones killed now. But Armani has this worker count, which was already not great, made even worse. And this Banshee now has 23 kills on it. Worker kill count almost entirely claimed by this Banshee when you want to math it out. Obviously it wasn't, but that's where the numbers lie. This push out of Clem, though, is terrifying. It's 61 army supply to 18. Right, it's 28 Marines, 2 tanks, to 14 Zerglings and 5 queens. There's your context. Yes, Banelings are morphing in, and yes, Banelings are going to have speed, but I mean, these Marines are already on top of it. The focus fire starts before the fight even begins. Drags back behind the tank, gets these off of the creep, uses his speed, takes out the Lings. And Armani really doesn't have much to hold this with. There's 5 queens here with a couple of transfuses, but the Marines do not care. Look how much Clem is overstimming his Marines. This is because he just simply doesn't care. He wants to end it now. He knows he's got the damage. He goes for it again. He sees the Banelings, target fires them again before they pop, going off on the Hellions. And there's a tank set up down here. There's more Marines on the front line. Armani just simply cannot keep up, and Clem holds the line. We will not be knocked down by the Warpigs. Not yet.